Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is our online session about becoming a VI teacher, getting all your questions answered. My name is Ellen. I'm the events manager at Look. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm visually impaired myself. And we also have Megan from the Look team, who is a mentor project officer. Do you want to say hi, Meg?
Hi everyone.
Great. So you've got the two of us here from the Look team tonight. Um, and we have a fantastic plethora of speakers ready to share their experiences with you, all about being VI teachers. Before we start, for anyone who hasn't heard of us before or is new to Look, we are a small national charity supporting visually impaired children, young people, and their families to thrive. And our mission and vision is a world where all visually impaired young people are valued, included, and can live their best lives. We are a charity based in Hereford, but we work nationally and we offer mentoring, transformational events, online forums, and parent support. We're the leading organisation in the UK for mentoring for visually impaired children and young people. So much of our events and services are led by VI people for VI people, and all of your speakers here tonight are our glamorous mentors. So thank you so much to them for giving their time to share their experiences with us tonight. The event tonight is really all about getting into teaching as a visually impaired professional. We instigate the ideas for all of our events from a need that we identify within our mentoring community. And we've been noticing recently that a lot of mentors and mentees and young people that we speak to are expressing an interest in getting into teaching as a career or pursuing a career in teaching and education, but feeling unsure about what that looks like, what the kind of reality of that it might be for someone with visual impairment, and also just kind of the practicalities around, being a VI teacher in the classroom. So by the end of this session, we hope that you'll understand the different pathways into a teaching career. We hope that you'll be able to identify key accessibility tools and strategies used by VI teachers today. You will know how to advocate for necessary workplace adjustment and support in your career in teaching, and you'll connect with a network of peers that are, either in the same situation as you, also looking into teaching, or a little bit further ahead down the line and already kind of in a teaching career that you can support each other. Because we were talking just before we started this session with the speakers and saying that there's an obvious real gap in some kind of like VI network or peer network for VI teachers. So it feels like maybe that's something that we could kind of, today could be the first step towards. So enough from me for a second. I'm going to ask our lovely speakers to introduce themselves to you now. So I'm going to come to each of our speakers in turn and ask you just to tell us a little bit about you, your name, your pronouns, your access needs, if you're happy to share them, and a little bit about what you're doing now, where you're at in your kind of career and teaching journey. So is it okay? Can I start with Chris? Can I come to you first?
Yes, that's fine. I thought you'd pick on me, Ellen. So I'm Chris. Use he him pronouns. My access needs I mostly use a screen reader now, but sometimes try and use magnification still. So I'm currently an assistant Senko at New College Worcester, which is the specialist secondary school for young people with vision impairment. But I initially trained as a primary SEND teacher and worked within primary SEND schools for 3 years before moving to New College Worcester.
And you're a trainee QTVI?
Oh yeah, I'm also a trainee QTBI and completing my training, so I'll be finishing that this summer.
Just a minor thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Chris. Jack, can I come to you?
Yeah, sure. Jack Pierce, also he, him pronouns. My site classification is 660. I've got nystagmus and oculus cutaneous albinism. I am currently head of curriculum at an SEMH primary school in Manchester.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jack. Charlotte, can we hear from you?
So my name's Charlotte. I'm currently my pronouns are she and her. My access needs are typically large print and occasionally a screen reader. And I currently work as a year two primary school teacher in a mainstream school in West Sussex.
Thank you. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura. Pronouns she, her. I don't have many access needs. I just need a mirror at the back of my classroom to be in the same room that's well lit because I struggle with depth perception and being able to leave early so I can get home safely in the dark with rod degeneration. I currently work in a independent secondary school as a maths teacher. Have been there for the last 6 years. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Laura. Josh?
Hello, I'm Josh. I've got nystagmus as well, so wobbly eyes. I've been teaching 13 years, in primary. So I've taught from reception up to year 6, but I'm in year 4 at the moment, going into year 5 and taking my class up next year. I don't really have many access needs, so I'm quite similar to Laura, but other than just zooming in, I tend to just go and use the laptop's automatic thing. So I'll make the font larger, I'll zoom in, and I tend to just hold things really close, and I find that easier than screen readers or magnifiers, and just quicker.
Great, thanks, Josh. And Daniel.
Okay, so I'm Daniel, he, him pronouns. My access needs are I'm a totally blind educator due to retinopathy prematurity, so it's screen reader and braille all the way for me. And yeah, I'm currently your resident Canadian. I did my PGCE in Wales, but I've moved back to Canada recently. I'm now doing supply teaching, basically pending a permanent position at our School for the Blind here in Ontario.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. So we can tell there's a real kind of range of experiences, a range of VI needs and sort of access needs as well, and a range of kind of teaching interest and expertise as well. So in kind of my prep for this session, what I've learned is that there is so much to say, and everything, there's so much that's individual to each person. But in terms of sort of steering this session tonight, what we've done is we've taken the questions that you have submitted when you've registered, and compiled them into a few key questions for the speakers. So what I'm going to do is invite the speakers to respond to each of these questions, and then there will be time a little bit later on for you to ask your own questions to the speakers as well. So just remind you that as we're speaking, if anything occurs to you, another question or a comment or anything that you'd like to give to the speakers, please pop them in the chat, and Megan will be keeping an eye on the chat for us, and we'll be gathering those up for us to come to later. So as we start off then, in terms of, we should probably start by talking about actually getting into teaching as a profession. So there are so many routes out there, from undergraduate degrees to a PGCE or programs like Teach First. From your experiences, panel, how do you choose the right path for you, and what should aspiring teachers look out for when searching for supportive universities or degree programs or sort of training settings? Does anyone want to take that one first?
Okay, first.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jack.
So I did a PGCE. So I did an undergraduate degree in sociology, and then I did a PGCE the year after in Manchester, in primary age 3 to 11. I can't remember specifically what it's called. I did look at the Teach First schemes prior to that, which they basically like merged two years into one. So I'm showing my age a little bit here, but I was like an NQT rather than ECT. So that first year of teaching was, which is now split across 2 years, was in one. Teach First kind of did that year and your PGCE like mashed together. So it would have been a lot of work, but the benefit of that is that it's paid, whereas PGCE is like another year of university tuition fees, etc., etc. So it's a good thing to apply for if you fancy it. However, it's probably quite a lot of work, and generally speaking, they are in more challenging areas. So that may be something that you're interested in. It may not. But from people that I've spoken to that have been on it, it's pretty cool. The PGCE, the sort of general format for that is that your time is split between university and placements. So you'll be at university for a bit, learning different strategies, things like that. Then you'll have a couple of placements throughout the year. So I had like a sort of medium to long placement of about 8 weeks in the first term, and then you have your kind of final placement in the last term, which is a bit longer, about 10 weeks. And then in between that, I also had different placements at like smaller placements at different settings. Like I had 1 week in a secondary school, I had a couple of weeks in a nursery, and I had a couple of day placement at a SEND/SEMH setting, which I found interesting.
Thank you, Jack.
An overview.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Can anyone tell us like what made you choose to go for a PGCE over a Teach First course, or what made you choose your particular pathway that you've taken?
So I actually did Teach First. I did it in 2013 and would not recommend it at all. I thought it was dreadful. But a lot of that was mainly because it's changed a lot since then. So I can only talk for 13 years ago, which I know isn't helpful. But the biggest thing between Teach First and doing a PGCE through university is obviously you're placed in one school for 2 years. So yes, you'll do your 2-week placement in a secondary school if you're primary, or your week placement in a primary if you're secondary. But if it's not a very good school, you're there for 2 years. Whereas you don't have the university support that you would do your PGCE through university. If you do have an awful first placement, you don't change school. You obviously can in exceptional circumstances. I was really excited to get on it. It was good. The main advantage is that you are paid. So you'll be paid as an unqualified teacher at the start, which obviously isn't as much as an ECT, but you do get some money. So that was a definite bonus, and all your PGC is paid for. So you won't leave it with more student debt, which is obviously a positive. It works. It does work in deprived areas. I ended up working for an ARC school, which also work in deprived areas. They're in London, Birmingham, Portsmouth, and Hastings, when I last checked. They've also got their own teacher training program, which was similar to Teach First, except then you were paired with a teacher. So instead of being thrown into having your own class straight away and teaching 60%, you were very much kind of handheld and spoon-fed. And I worked with all the trainees at our school, so ARC kind of did it the same, but differently, and would recommend that more. I know some people that love Teach First, some people that hated it, but I think especially as if you're going into it as VI, the school I got put in 2 schools first, they asked if so Teach First finds you the school you're going into, and they disclosed that I was VI for the first 2 and they didn't accept me, and so the third one they lied and then they did. So I think it's probably just easier going through university and you know where you stand. You've obviously got pastorally better stuff there. So from a VI perspective, it's probably better not to.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you, Josh. So once you decide that you want to go down the route of learning to teach, or you're getting into education as a kind of career pathway, you then need to choose where you fit best. And this is kind of leading on from what we were just talking about, in which path to take to get in the first place. What are the biggest kind of differences that you guys have found in terms of teaching primary versus secondary, or teaching in mainstream versus specialist settings? There's a real range of us here. You're all kind of, Chris and Daniel, you're in specialist settings at the minute, specialist schools, and Laura and Josh and Charlotte, you're all in mainstream, and Jack, you're SEMH as well, aren't you? So what would you say the merits are? But you're all kind of across primary and secondary. Does anyone want to share kind of how you decided which area to get to, and what kind of differences you've seen from a kind of VI and access perspective as well?
Yeah, Daniel here. I could take this one first if you like.
Yeah, perfect.
So my story is kind of interesting. I won't spend too much time on it, but essentially I was very fortunate back in 2019 to be able to do quite a bit of job shadowing at our school for the blind here in Ontario, and really kind of see how the internals of it worked. And then when I was doing my PGCE, I was in the mainstream system. I did 2 placements in the mainstream system. So I really, was able to kind of see both sides of the coin, which I'm not sure I'm sure some of you have been able to, but I've kind of really seen both sides. The biggest difference I would say is that when you are in a specialist school, it can be a blessing and a curse in some ways, because you would think that access would be there by default, but if anything does go wrong, then you have more assumptions to work through. I've been fortunate in that respect, but I did find that working in the mainstream. Ironically, the students get it, right away and are no problem. Most of them anyway, But the one benefit really of going into specialists sort of for your career goal is that you can be a mentor for the next generation of blind and VI individuals coming out. So, there's so many different elements we can go into, but that's kind of my take on the whole thing. This is just different layers to it. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you, Daniel. Charlotte, what about you? What's been your experience in this way?
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate in that actually when I did a PGCE in primary education, and I was fortunate enough in my first placement to be placed in a special needs school as well. So I've had both experiences, and mine was really unique in that my special needs school obviously was really accommodating for me, obviously being a special needs school, so it was well adapted. And then when I went to my mainstream setting, I was really fortunate in that it was actually the primary school that I went to. So they remembered me, and that were able to accommodate me there as well. So I was really, really fortunate, and I was able to do that because I chose to go to I did do my PGC locally, so I did it at a local university. I went to the University of Brighton. And I chose that because of I knew the access needs there were strong as well, and I knew I'd get my support through my DSA and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened. I ended up doing 2 placements, and much like what Daniel said, that it swings and roundabouts. It's what you preferred. I loved working in my special needs placement, but I also found it the most tiring and exhausting experience for myself personally. Whereas I found actually when I teach in mainstream, I'm able to cope more myself personally with the workload and the emotional toll and everything on myself, and like thinking of myself and making sure that I'm healthy and with it. If that makes sense, I hope it does.
Yeah, that will make sense. Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. That's really, really valuable. Laura, what about you? Because you've been in mainstream the whole way through, haven't you?
So I didn't know, compared to the rest of other people with VIs, I didn't know I had a vision impairment until after I started teaching. So I did the usual route of a PGC in 2014, then didn't have the best training, didn't get into the best school that really had high expectations. So I left. And I'd say to anyone, if you're looking to go into teaching, the one thing that really helped me was seeing the other side. So I was a teaching assistant or a learning support assistant for a year and a half. And for me, that was really interesting because you get to see everything. You get to see the day-to-day. You get to see what setting you might prefer. You get to see the SEN kids, but also normal kids, and the good, the bad, and the ugly of teaching. And you get to see it for what it really is. And then it eye opens you as to, do you actually want to do it? I've then always been in mainstream. From 2017. I've had to work it with a VI and change a bit. But I'd say that in the mainstream setting, if you're vision impaired, for me, I found it more stressful and harder in a state setting or an academy where you've got classes of 30 plus and you're trying to deal with not only your own needs, but also deal with the needs of your students and keep an eye on what's going on in the room, which is hard enough as it is with a VI, let alone with that many kids. Whereas I find now, since I'm in an independent school, we've got smaller classes. And for me, that's been a massive benefit to my own health and the way that I now teach, and my love that I've refound for it through moving settings. We do have the beauty of my school of having a primary and secondary in the same setting, albeit across the road. And even over there, like I've gone over there a few times and they're very adaptable to like me just popping in or what I might need. And I'd say that I think for me, being an independent setting is better because they will listen more to what I need and they'll change things to adapt to what I need. Whereas I found that in a state setting, a bigger academy, they just took it as, well, you're normal, there's nothing wrong with you, therefore we won't adapt as much. So I think for vision impaired people, being in the right school, in the right setting with people that get it and are willing to help you is super important.
That's really interesting. Thank you, Laura. Chris, can I come and check in with you as well? Because you've taken a bit of a different route as well.
Sure, yeah. So obviously I did a school direct PGCE, so that I was basically in school majority of the time, sometimes 4 to even 5 days a week, with occasional days for the actual university and specialist training. So for me, I sort of looked at it when I was going to teaching as what's realistic for my sight condition, because it's degenerative. I know that lots of marking and lots of students is going to be a real issue. And so the most feasible seemed the primary SEN sector. I had a bit of experience with it before. I had really, well, my PGC years were, a bit challenging because the SEN was a bit more challenging behaviours. So that had its challenges, as it obviously is. But so I then moved to a different school where the needs were slightly more physical, and so I found that was a lot better for me in terms of my teaching. In the school again were a lot more accommodating, and I could ask for things to be slightly adjusted if I needed to, and not doing break duty, because that would just be unrealistic to try and see what everyone's up to. And obviously there's smaller class sizes, marking and sort of assessing work is more observation, so I was able to use the teaching assistants because there was 5 in my class to 9 students. So from that side, it was a really good experience, and I sort of really thought about it because I knew that I would need to consider that I could lose all my sight in that time. And with that's why I then was looking towards the QTVI, because I knew that I could take all the skills learned as a teacher and apply them as a teacher for vision impairment, where being vision impaired and not having any useful vision wouldn't be a barrier.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you guys for sharing.